Hey guys, you're watching Just Hoop Talk podcast on YouTube. Be sure to subscribe to the channel and to our podcast on all streaming platforms. What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Just Hoop Talk. We talk in the Eastern Conference today. You're with Will Thompson, Justin Henry, man. We are here. Will, how are you feeling about this Eastern Conference playoffs, man? We're seeing a couple things we didn't expect.
Yeah, dude, there's some surprises. The West, we got some battles. We got some dogfights. In the East, we got some surprises, man. I'm like, oh, okay. So it's entertaining. It's entertaining for sure.
Yeah, a couple teams got off to a fast start, and the Miami Heat especially got off to a fast start against the Bucks. Really want to talk about that series, though, because it's featuring the reigning league MVP and probably soon to be two-time MVP, Giannis Antetokounmpo. I know I butchered the name, but we're going to roll with it anyway. But Giannis, man, they're playing down 3-0. They went down 3-0 with Giannis. And, you know, they've come back since then and they won a game. But how are you feeling about Giannis's impact, man? Are we overrating him as a player, or are we not giving the other Bucks enough credit? Like, well, what are your thoughts on Giannis? Because, you know, the Heat are locking him up and making it really difficult for him. I don't know, man. League MVP, Giannis not getting a game in out of 3? Yeah. Like, what are your thoughts?
It's interesting. I didn't know this about Giannis, but he averaged 30 minutes a game for the Bucks this year.
Really?
Which I thought really low. Yeah, they were like, yeah, Giannis averages about 30 minutes a game. And I'm like, that's low. That's really low for an MVP. But obviously he was able to put up great numbers in those minutes. So props to him. But I was watching that game. Giannis got hurt early. He goes out. And it looks like the offense flows better without Giannis on the court. They kind of have a more traditional style, move the ball around, spread the floor, get guys open. When Giannis is on the court, they literally just pack the paint, watch Giannis try to get to the basket, dribble off someone's foot, turn the ball over, or lay it up. Like their offense is so stagnant. It's so old-fashioned. I really wonder if this team is better without Giannis on the court. If you look at them, they have 3 guys who've averaged 20 points per game at some point in their career. They got guys that can score and get buckets. But with Giannis on the court, those guys are just they literally just stand around, bro. Like, if you watch them, it's a bunch of dudes standing around watching one dude just create. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You start to see the offense kind of open up. You start to see a guy like Middleton get more confidence, do his thing. We saw the game winner. Like, I'll be interested to see this series moving forward if they play a little better. Not to say that they're a better team without him, but it looks like the offense flows a lot better without him on the court.
And I think that's probably why you hear a lot of those rumors about Giannis leaving, because he needs complete shooters around him. But the guys around him, the Brook Lopez's, the Eric Bledsoes, the Chris Middletons, they're not all just stationary spot-up shooters. And I think part of what Giannis struggles with is he's also not like LeBron-esque where he can make any pass on the court. Yeah. He's really straight line with his movements, you know? And so when the Miami Heat are throwing up this wall and kind of what you've seen Toronto do to him even last year, like these teams are realizing that if Giannis has to make that type of play, he's not always going to make the right calls, and it frustrates him, you know?
Yep.
And when you start to think about, are the Bucks a better team without him? It's like now he has all-star caliber players on the roster. Like, those guys elevate their level of play now. And even some of those veterans, you got like George Hill on the team, Kyle Korver, like they're going to start to make more plays because they know that they need to. It's kind of the same thing we're seeing in Miami where the veterans are rising their level of play.
Yeah.
And I think when you have so much, you know, a ball dominant Giannis, or he's now forced to guard Jimmy Butler when that's a huge, huge mismatch, I think, in the Heat's favor. Jimmy Butler, a 7-footer trying to guard Jimmy Butler. Like, to me, I don't know. I'm not sure if they're better, but I'm not sure that he might not be like the offense doesn't flow better without him on the court, you know?
Yeah, I definitely think this really opens up the conversation for him potentially being moved next year, right?
Yeah.
Like, if you look at, okay, say they go out in the second round this year, he's coming up as a free agent. The Bucks have a decision to make.
Yeah.
I think, you know, this makes it a little bit easier for them to make a decision and pull the trigger on making a move and getting something in return and not just letting him leave, you know?
Yeah. And they're a small market team too. So for them, they don't necessarily want to dole out super max contract to Giannis and then have to pay and try to keep that team of veterans that's already around them. Like, that's already tough to do because they're, I would think that they're one of the older teams when it comes to like star players or supporting cast. But if you could swing a deal with the Warriors and get the number 2 overall pick, get an Andrew Wiggins, bring in somebody like LaMelo Ball, Wiggins, and have some of those other players around him right now, why not kind of get the most you can for his value and then start to build later on too? Because those guys, Brook Lopez's, Eric Bledsoe's, they're only going to be around for, another 2-3 years.
Yeah.
You never know what's going to happen. So I could see Giannis, as long as there's a sign and trade type of thing done, I could see him leaving this year. I'm not sure, man, how to all play out.
Yeah, I definitely think it's interesting because we talked a little bit about this, how this was just not a good matchup for the Bucks.
You actually said that. I want to say we have a clip of that. If we do, I'm inserting it right now. Out of the East, outside of the Bucks.
Personally, I really like the Miami Heat.
Yeah.
I think they're a team that is built perfectly to give the Bucks a lot of trouble. Because you look at their roster and you look at guys like Jimmy Butler and Bam Adebayo that can guard. Obviously, they're not going to shut Giannis down, but they can give him a lot of trouble.
Yeah. So it didn't look good from the beginning, and it's playing out kind of exactly like we kind of thought it would. And a lot of that is just because of the Heat, man. The Heat look really, really good right now, dude.
Yeah.
They're hitting on all cylinders. Their young players are playing really well. Their vets are stepping up and playing well. Like, if you had to think of a perfect scenario for this Heat team, right, they're living it out. Like, it's happening. What do you think about the Heat? Are they a legit contender to win the East this year?
The crazy part is, I think coming in, we had, obviously we just heard you talk about how they are a team that could be a sleeper, especially against the Bucks. But you start to think about the Heat and what they have. They have the superstar talent with Bam. They have it with Jimmy Butler. They have the shooters. You got Duncan Robinson, Tyler Hero, you name it. Their roster is deep full of shooters. You got the bigs. You got Kelly Olynyk. You starting, like I said, with Bam. But then you also got the defense now, the length with Iguodala, with Crowder, with Jimmy Butler. Like, this team is deep, and they're full of everything you need. I really don't see a weakness with this Heat team. Can they win it all? I'm not sure. But you know what? They match up with every single team that's left in the playoffs really, really well, man. They don't lack scoring. They don't lack three-point ability. They don't lack defense. I don't know, man. That's what you expect out of a championship team. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I think what's really interesting about them is the question was offense, right? Like, because you knew they were going to be tough, bro. You knew they were going to be tough defensively. They were going to be super disciplined. But could they put up enough points to score with other teams? And all of their guys are stepping up. Their young guys are stepping up, which is really surprising. Tyler Hero does not look like a rookie out there at all. Duncan Robinson does not look like a second-year dude that didn't play, an undrafted guy. And then the vets, like Jay Crowder, stepping up and hitting shots. Like, I mean, we've seen Jay Crowder just disappear in playoff series, but he's stepped up. And Goran Dragic does not look like a 34-year-old point guard right now. Like, he's killing. So I think sky's the limit if they can continue to play the way they're playing. You look at a team that just, like, everything is going right for it, and they're hitting on all cylinders across the board. They're really impressive right now. They can continue to play this way. It's hard to see them being beat like 4 times in the series,
Yeah, and you look at them versus some of the other teams, left. Obviously, they went up 3-0 on the Bucks, so I'm assuming that they're going to finish them off at some point. Yeah. I don't know if that's wrong to assume or not, but that's just typically in the NBA, it's how it works. You go up 3-0, you're closing out a series at some point. Yeah. You look at Toronto, you look at the Celtics, and I feel like the Heat have the advantage over both of those teams is that they have all facets of the game, whereas I think the Celtics are probably missing a little bit here or there. The Raptors are beatable here and there. I can't really find a true weakness with the Heat. Like, if you look at the Heat and you think about what their weakness is, outside of just being outplayed for the day, they're well-coached, they're well-conditioned, they're long. They have all the facets that you need. They have individual scoring. They have clutch play. They have multiple clutch players. Like, their veterans are playing at a high level. Their young guys are playing at a high level. Yeah. There's no weakness with this team. I think the thought is, like, I think they can win the East versus the Celtics or versus the Raptors. But then you're looking into, like, Lakers, Clippers type territory. They might even be able to beat those guys because they match up so well. You think there's a chance that the Heat can actually win the NBA Finals this year, bro?
If I had to pick a team to be in the finals, it would be the Heat. Like, I would love that matchup, dude. I love them. They match up like really, really well with the Clippers.
Yeah.
And they kind of in a weird way would like it would be a really interesting matchup with the Lakers. Like that, those would be super entertaining series. Like definitely be some fights going on in some games, bro. Like I'm hyped for that. I want to see this Heat team in the finals just straight up fight with somebody, man. I want to see it.
And I just don't know who beats them in the East. You know, I would love to think that the Celtics can, but I think they're so reliant on Tatum and Jaylen Brown to get their scoring done that the Heat wings, you know, they're really good on defense, man. And I also think even with the Raptors, you know, the Raptors are pretty I would say that they're almost a mirror image. But I think that where the Raptors are a little bit better defensively, like the shooting is there with the Heat. So can the Raptors keep up scoring wise with the Heat? I don't know, man. To me, they look really good, and I think a matchup against the Lakers and Clippers would bring some real intense playoff games.
Yes.
I'm not sure they could beat the Lakers or the Clippers, but I know they would make it interesting. I wouldn't count them out, put it that way.
Yeah, definitely do.
So, I mean, man, the East is loaded. The East is loaded with talent. And I want to talk about at least that Celtics-Raptors series in a little bit more depth too. Yeah. I think that the East is good, and those two teams, a lot of people actually picked them to go to the finals, Raptors and Clippers. And it seems to be, even though that the Celtics got out to a stronger start, the Raptors came back and they're a scrappy team, dude. They made it back. What are your thoughts on the Raptors, man, and their identity? Because Kyle Lowry really is an underrated player, and he's brought a lot to the table. What are your thoughts on just the Raptors overall and that scrappy mentality that they keep?
Yeah, we've seen that over the last couple of years with the Raptors, man. Like when their back is against the wall, they're playing at their best. So them getting down 2-0, everyone writing them off like these are done. They don't belong here. Like they have no scoring. And them coming back and responding like really well is just kind of a testament to the culture there and that team and really their leader in Kyle Lowry. You know what I mean? Like a guy undersized, not athletic at all, like not really even quick, but a guy who just gets it done at the end of the day. He comes to work, shows up, and gets the job done. And that's kind of what this team is. Like you look at them and you're not blown away by anyone on their roster. You know what I mean? Like, but for whatever reason, they come to work and they get the job done. And when their back's against the wall, they always respond, dude. I remember it, and it's like the opposite. A lot of it could just be how many years they struggled, you know, by getting swept by LeBron year after year after year. And they've been hardened, you know, to the point where they're mentally super tough. And they're going to be a tough out. I don't care who it is. As long as they're there, Kyle Lowry, as long as he's not hurt, that Raptors team is going to be a tough out, man.
Yeah, man. And they bring that kind of that underdog mentality. You know, they're the defending champs, and people are still not giving them the respect that they deserve. And I think it does start with Kyle Lowry, you know, kind of coming from that place where he's never been really that superstar point guard, but he always makes the tough plays. You know, he was a little chunkier when he first came into the league, and he lost the weight, and he's playing a little bit better. But you look at their roster top to bottom, and really everybody on their roster is kind of like a castaway type of player, you know, like you got your Van Vliets, your OG Anunobies, Siakam, even like Ibaka and Gasol are kind of like, oh, they're out of their prime now. They're not going to be effective. And I think that underdog mentality is what shapes them, bro. They are a really scrappy team, like you mentioned. They don't quit. And a team like that is a very scary team for anybody to go up against, because you never know. You know they're not going to lay down, but you never know when they're going to throw the haymaker that knocks you out. You know, and so I think that Kyle Lowry is setting the tone, and I don't think we're giving him enough credit, man. I don't think over the course of Kyle Lowry's career, we've given him enough credit to say that he is potentially a Hall of Famer, potentially, you know, one of those players that we look back and say, man, they were better than we even gave them credit for at the time, because he's not loud, he's not vocal. He just gets to work and gets it done, you know?
Yeah. Another guy, too, is Fred VanVleet, man. Another dude that doesn't talk, doesn't brag and boast a lot, just comes to work and gets the job done. He's elevated his game every single year that he's been in the league. I think he was undrafted out of Wichita State, if I'm not mistaken.
Dude, they have a bunch of, like, G League undrafted guys on their roster, man.
Yeah, but every year Fred has been has gotten better throughout the playoffs, really established himself as like an elite scorer, which is just crazy considering he's like maybe 6'2".
Yeah.
Like super undersized, but really has established himself as an elite scorer in the game. And like that, they just find the right people. They find the right pieces. They put it all together perfectly. And yeah, they're scrappy. They're tough to beat, man. So we'll see moving forward.
Yeah, we'll see. And you know the Celtics are going to come back, and they're also going to make it a series. Those young guys, Tatum, Brown. But then also, like, you see Kemba Walker kind of elevating his game right now too and taking ownership of this series for the Celtics. So I think there's a lot to dive into. The bigs are playing a lot better for the Celtics now. When you're talking about Tice, you're talking about Robert Williams coming in there making an impact. So the Celtics, I know they're not going to quit either. And I could see them coming out on the other side of this as well, just with their, you know, if Jason Tatum makes the plays that we know he can make and they kind of step their game up, I don't know, man. We'll see.
Yeah.
But I think this is probably the series that I'm looking towards the most as far as being a competitive series there in the East.
Yeah, this might be a 7-game series for sure. We got a long one on our hands. And yeah, I think with the Celtics, like they have to see more consistent play from their bigs, which is good to see their younger bigs kind of stepping up as well as Tice. But yeah, they got to see better play from their bigs because you know their wings are going to do it, bro. You know they're going to kill. Their big three are going to come out every night. The question is, can their bigs be consistent?
We'll see, dude. This East, man, it's been interesting to say the least, bro. And so we'll find out a lot more, man. But
Yeah.
The East playoffs is here. I don't know. Who's your prediction? Who you got coming out the East?
Woo! I got to go with the Heat, man. I'm riding that heat wave, man.
Heat wave. I'm gonna go with the Celtics. I think the Celtics pull it off against the Raptors and eventually beat the Heat. So we'll see. Let's talk predictions on another episode. Be sure to subscribe to the channel. As always, it's Justin Henry, Will Thompson signing off. Just Hoop Talk, another edition in the books. We're out.
Peace.
For more NBA, college, and hoops coverage, be sure to subscribe to Just Hoop Talk podcast on YouTube and all streaming platforms.